Imagine walking into a luxury restaurant and being told you don't belong just because of how you look. No one knew he was a global superstar. No cameras, no red carpet, just a hoodie and a quiet smile. But when the truth came out, the entire restaurant froze and the waiter's face turned white. This is the moment Tom Holland turned judgment into a life lesson. It started with a sentence that sliced through the soft murmur of clinking glasses and low conversations like a blade. "Who do you think you are? This place isn't for guys like you." Heads turned. The music seemed to fade for a moment. Conversations stalled. Every eye nearby shifted toward the confrontation unfolding at the entrance of one of London's most exclusive restaurants, La Lumière, a place known for its celebrity clientele, its Michelin stars, and prices high enough to make most wallets tremble. And there he was, a young man standing calmly in the middle of the elegant foyer. His outfit couldn't have looked more out of place in this polished, gold-accented world. Faded jeans, scuffed sneakers, and a hoodie that looked like it came from a clearance rack. No designer logos, no polished leather shoes, no glitz, just quiet confidence and simplicity. A sharply dressed waiter, tall and proud with a clipboard tucked under his arm, had marched up to the young man the second he stepped in. Without so much as a polite greeting, he launched into what can only be described as a verbal takedown. "You can't just stroll into a place like this," the waiter snapped, his voice dripping with contempt. "This is a luxury establishment. We serve business magnates, celebrities, royalty, people who belong here." The young man looked taken aback, but not angry. If anything, there was a flicker of amusement in his eyes. With a gentle tone, he replied, "I just wanted a table for one, please." But the waiter wasn't finished. He leaned in, his voice lowering to a mocking whisper that still carried far enough for nearby diners to hear. "Unless you're here to wash dishes, I suggest you leave before you embarrass yourself." Gasps echoed around the room. A couple dining nearby exchanged stunned looks. A woman covered her mouth in shock. Someone whispered, "Is this really happening?" But what the waiter didn't know, what he had completely failed to realize, was the identity of the man he just insulted. This wasn't some random passerby. The man standing in front of him was Tom Holland, the actor beloved around the world for playing Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He was one of the most famous faces on the planet, charming, talented, and surprisingly low-key. You see, Tom had just left a nearby charity gala and decided to grab a quick dinner before heading home. He didn't want to draw attention. He wasn't trying to make an entrance. He simply dressed down, put on his hoodie, and hoped for a quiet meal at one of his favorite spots. But clearly the staff didn't recognize him, or worse, didn't care. They saw the hoodie, the casual look, and made a snap judgment. Tom stood there for a moment, scanning the room. Some of the guests were now staring wide-eyed in recognition, nudging their friends, pointing subtly. Whispers began to ripple across the room. "Wait, is that Tom Holland? Oh my God, it's Spider-Man!" Others pulled out their phones under the table, snapping discreet photos and trying not to be obvious. But Tom, he didn't react. No show of ego, no flexing of celebrity status. He simply looked at the waiter and said, "That's disappointing." And that was all. At that moment, something shifted in the air. The luxury restaurant, usually wrapped in a bubble of elite exclusivity, suddenly felt a lot smaller. The waiter, still holding the clipboard, began to sense something was off. His smug expression started to waver. Because when you insult someone based on how they look, without ever considering who they might be or what they've done, you risk discovering the truth the hard way. And for this waiter, that moment was coming fast. Tom Holland had just stepped out of a charity event nearby, an event that raised thousands for underprivileged children. The evening had been packed with speeches, smiles, and flashing cameras. But now, all he wanted was something simple, a warm meal, some quiet, and a bit of normalcy. So instead of calling ahead or bringing his team along, Tom chose to do something rare for a celebrity of his status. He walked alone, dressed casually, and picked a restaurant he'd visited before, La Lumière, known not just for its food, but its discretion. He knew what fame could bring. The staring, the selfies, the swarming. That's why he dressed the way he did. A hoodie, some old jeans, and a cap were usually enough to help him blend in. But tonight his attempt at staying low-key had clearly backfired. Standing by the entrance, still recovering from the waiter's cold dismissal, Tom didn't argue. He didn't flash his fame. He didn't demand special treatment. Instead, with the same calm composure he's shown on red carpets and movie sets, he simply asked again, "Are you sure there's no table?" The waiter rolled his eyes as if insulted by the persistence. Without answering, he turned and walked away like Tom wasn't even there. From a nearby table, a couple glanced over. The woman squinted, then gently nudged her husband. "Isn't that Spider-Man?" she whispered. A man sitting behind them leaned forward, trying to get a better look. Slowly, a soft wave of realization began to ripple across the room. Whispers spread. Phones were subtly raised. A few heads turned in disbelief. Some recognized him instantly. The charming face, the unmistakable smile, the eyes that had stared down Thanos on the big screen. Just then, the front doors swung open again. A man in a dark suit walked in briskly. He carried himself with urgency, and when he spotted Tom, he stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened in instant recognition. It was the restaurant manager. He had only stepped away briefly to take a call, but now he was staring at a potential PR nightmare unfolding at his front door. He rushed forward, nearly stumbling over himself, and greeted Tom with a mixture of panic and awe. "Mr. Holland, I had no idea you were coming tonight. Please forgive the confusion," he said, his voice almost trembling. The room went quiet again. The waiter, who had so confidently turned Tom away just moments ago, now stood frozen nearby. His clipboard slipped slightly in his hand. He looked like he had seen a ghost, a very famous, very powerful ghost. Tom looked over at him but didn't say a word. He didn't need to. The manager, now fully aware of the damage done, quickly gestured toward the center of the dining area. "Please, let me personally seat you. We have a private table with a view just for you." Tom nodded politely and followed the manager, not out of pride, but grace. The waiter? He stayed still, watching the man he just insulted walk past him, surrounded by admiring stares. And in that moment, reality hit him like a punch to the gut. He hadn't just disrespected a customer. He disrespected one of the biggest movie stars in the world. Tom smiled politely and extended a hand, showing no signs of anger or arrogance. "Hey," he said in his usual calm, friendly voice. "I was just hoping to grab a quiet dinner." The manager, still visibly rattled, shook his hand quickly and nodded. "Of course, Mr. Holland. You're always welcome here. We're so sorry about the confusion. Please follow me. We'll get you the best seat in the house immediately." As Tom walked alongside the manager toward a table at the back of the restaurant, one with a stunning view of the London skyline, the energy in the room shifted entirely. The hushed buzz of voices returned, but now it wasn't about food or business deals. Everyone was talking about him. "It's really him," someone whispered. "Tom Holland, right here." More and more guests began to recognize the humble superstar. Some discreetly reached for their phones, snapping a few photos from under napkins or behind menus. But Tom didn't seem fazed. He wasn't there to be a celebrity. He just wanted a quiet moment to himself, away from the lights, away from the noise. And even in the spotlight of unwanted attention, he remained composed, humble, and kind. The waiter, however, stood completely still. His posture had shifted from confident and smug to slouched and frozen. His face had lost its color. The clipboard in his hand now seemed heavier than before. The words he had said earlier, "This place isn't for guys like you," now echoed in his own mind. But with shame, he watched helplessly as the manager pulled out a chair for Tom and offered him the finest wine list, apologizing profusely with every move. Then, just before returning to the front, the manager turned toward the waiter with a sharp look and said, "Do you realize who that is?" The waiter blinked rapidly and stammered, I thought he was just a regular guy." The manager's eyes narrowed. "He's not just any regular guy. That's Tom Holland, one of the most respected actors in the world. He's been here before, quietly, politely, never once asking for special treatment. And you just embarrassed him in front of a full house. Reality came crashing down like a tidal wave. The waiter's face turned red, and his hands began to shake slightly. Panicking, he grabbed a menu and walked nervously toward Tom's table. Trying to salvage what little dignity he had left, he leaned forward and whispered, "Sir, I'm really sorry about earlier. I didn't recognize you. Please forgive me." Tom looked up from the menu, eyes calm but firm. What he said next wasn't cruel, but it was honest, and it stung more than any raised voice ever could. "It's not about recognizing me," Tom said. "It's about how you treat people. You judged me based on how I looked. Imagine how many others you've done that to." The words hit the waiter like a punch to the chest. For a moment, he couldn't respond. Tom didn't need to say anything else. He didn't have to raise his voice or name-drop his fame. His point was made, with quiet power. And in that moment, the waiter realized he hadn't just misjudged a customer. He had missed the opportunity to treat a person like a human being. Tom's response wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was something far more powerful. It was thoughtful, and it came from a place of wisdom beyond his years. As the waiter stood there, still stunned and ashamed, Tom's words hung in the air like a quiet echo that seemed to reach every corner of the restaurant. "It's not about recognizing me. It's about how you treat people." The manager, clearly shaken by the incident, leaned in and said sincerely, "Mr. Holland, please accept my deepest apologies. This is not how we train our staff. I promise you this matter will be dealt with immediately." His tone was firm. The implication was clear. The waiter could be disciplined or even fired. But Tom, sitting calmly at his table, looked up and said something that left the manager speechless. "Don't punish him," Tom said. "Educate him. Maybe this experience will teach him to treat everyone with respect, not just the ones he thinks are important." For a moment, the entire room went silent. The clinking of glasses stopped. The whispering faded. Everyone nearby who had been watching, listening, and waiting to see a celebrity reaction was now witnessing something entirely different. This wasn't a movie scene. This was real character. People expected Tom Holland to pull rank, to shame the waiter, maybe even leave in anger. But instead, he offered something far more rare: grace. The manager blinked, visibly surprised. He glanced at the waiter, then back at Tom. "You're incredibly kind," he said. "Most wouldn't have handled it this way." Tom simply smiled and shrugged. "We all mess up sometimes. What matters is what we do afterward." The waiter, eyes glossy with emotion, nodded slowly. He wasn't just embarrassed anymore, he was moved. "Thank you," he whispered. "I was wrong. I judged you. And I've probably judged others too. I'm sorry." Tom looked up at him with a calm, genuine expression. "We all make mistakes. It's how we grow from them that matters." Those words hit deeper than any punishment ever could. Around the room, guests who had been silently watching began to look inward. A man at the bar lowered his phone. A young woman quietly whispered, "Wow, he's the real deal." In a world where ego often overshadows humility, where people are quick to react and slow to reflect, Tom Holland had done something that no camera could fully capture. He turned a moment of disrespect into a life lesson. Not just for the waiter, not just for the staff, but for everyone in that restaurant. And that's the thing about true character. It doesn't scream. It speaks softly, but it echoes forever. As Tom quietly finished his dinner, the atmosphere in the restaurant had completely transformed. What began as a moment of tension had turned into a masterclass in humility and grace. Tom didn't ask for special service. He didn't demand attention. He enjoyed his meal, thanked the staff, and left without a single fuss. But the moment wasn't over. One guest, seated a few tables away, had filmed a brief clip, not of the insult, not of the confrontation, but of the aftermath. They captured the moment Tom calmly responded to the waiter, and most importantly, the words that followed. "It's not about recognizing me, it's about how you treat people." The clip was just under a minute long. No flashy angles, no dramatic editing, just raw, real-life footage of a celebrity acting like a decent, grounded human being. That guest uploaded the clip with a simple caption: Tom Holland just gave the classiest response I've ever seen. And then, the internet did its thing. Within hours, it went viral. Millions of views poured in. Shares exploded across Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Influencers reposted it. News outlets picked it up. People from around the world commented not on what Tom said, but how he said it. One comment read, "This is why Tom Holland is a national treasure." Another said, "Fame never went to his head, what a legend." And someone else summed it up perfectly. "That waiter just got schooled in the best way." Even celebrities chimed in, praising Tom for handling the situation with class instead of ego. Parents started using the clip as a teaching moment for their kids. Teachers discussed it in classrooms. It wasn't just a viral video, it became a viral life lesson. And Tom? He didn't comment on the video. He didn't post a follow-up on Instagram or tweet about the moment. He didn't need to. His actions had spoken louder than any social media post ever could. It was a quiet reminder that real heroes don't always wear capes, and that kindness, no matter how simple, always leaves a mark. As for the waiter, well, reports later surfaced that the restaurant didn't fire him. Instead, they followed Tom's advice. The waiter was sent through additional hospitality training, and something changed in him. According to staff members, he became one of the most respectful and thoughtful servers in the entire place. No more judging by appearance, no more assumptions. Whether a guest walked in wearing a designer suit or a hoodie, he treated them with equal care. Because that one moment, those few powerful words, stayed with him. And that's the legacy of true character. It doesn't end when the cameras stop rolling or the applause fades. It continues quietly and meaningfully long after the world moves on. And Tom Holland, he just kept being himself. A superhero not just on screen, but in real life too. If this story inspired you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more powerful real-life stories, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. What would you have done in Tom's shoes? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, remember, kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything. Thanks for watching.